here's a little gem. I didn't know about this thing. I played the dot game before with Goodwill Hunting over there. How do you like them apples? And that's kind of what this is. You'll wind up with a lot of the same mathematical problems that comes up with. But let me just show you a quick little diagram as far as what this is trying to imply to you against what the standard is. You'll need a seed. That's one. And there's some rules about the brain trip to get you to understand why what he's going to say here in the first two game trees, that it's always going to be the same shape or integral. It has a lot to do with whether it really is a whole number or not in terms of the numbers of games that you could do, because you need to know a bunch about space as far as the the SU unit that you're using here to describe whether it's a period on the squared circle bits of it, or if you're utilizing the geometry and fractals of those geometries, because eventually that'll fall to infinity, because a fractal could eventually fall to infinity on how many different lengths that would be, orientations towards north, and therefore how you would perceive the length or the angle as if it's a different tree type. So yes, off the front, no matter what you do, a line is a line. The only thing that changes that the measurement of that line, and it's not really truly defined as if that's the same shape or not. If your subject space is an infinity worth of certain stuff.
You start with a coloured seed, which can give rise to a tree, whose branches end in seeds that can sprout their own trees. The goal is to make as many trees as possible, and there are two main rules. The first tree must contain one seed, the second a maximum of 2 seeds, the third a maximum of 3 seeds.
Alright, there's just 1 and 2, and they really couldn't be unless I changed geometry a little bit. There's 1. It can, if it's that, then by virtue it is that, and the other thing, by the difference of black and white. You're not going to be able to get around that. And 2, see what's the difference between this angle and this angle, that they're a different shape. Well, just to be fair, just to keep it clean, I would want the proper factorials, or at least fractals, to help me gauge, well, if the corner is flat, that's 90 degrees, then I got a 45, I got sine 2, sine 3, or 3 pi. Up there, it's actually something different, how they do the trig. But there is no limit to say that's what the game structure would be like, because then it would become finite. If I left that variable in here, you're going to say any measurement, whether by a unit or actual degree, correlates a different object or a different shape. How do you really define what that is besides some game trial on string theory here that you're going to sucker somebody into, like, keep you busy, you do work, kids? Well, I mean, well, you got nothing to do. You could do a lot of those diagrams, but if this was the orientation to come at you, which there's some repeating patterns inside of there for sure, that you would get into something. Eventually this is going to be hydrogen, some decay state, some fractal of it, fusion reaction, and then you're going to want
to imagine a number that large is more than the human brain can take.
It's actually not. When you can tell, that's Schwarzschild's radius there, but when you can tell Earth's gravity by its mu gravity determined by its mass, and we're using a satellite because it's more precise. The satellite does what it wants in field theory to the time object out there, the thing telling time. It got between point A to point B on the signals and all that work out. But it would be a more accurate calc than mass of gravity for an object's orbitals that has different symmetry to it, air resistance, everything's a fusion reaction at that point in time. I generally use it whether it be Feynman diagrams or economic bifurcations, you can utilize that game base. It's not this game tree, or the tree 3 isn't going to necessarily help you do that, but what it will help you do is go through a lot of those diagrams, compare them like they're Bibbits, not only in the field against something else, a silver mine versus a gold mine, but its own silver mine, a smaller one that's got better resonant numbers to the environment Hubble tensor it's in, and utilizing that evolution, or I want to say Genesis, but the start of that process to the end of that process, you would say whoever comes up with more game trees that are fair game trees by the rules of what we defined here, then you set the curve of the class. If later on we did a timed event about what that is, that's what it would become, given a more precise observation instead of just letting it happen in space. Too big of a number prime to really be able to distinguish under its measurements, because what is an inch? You look it up in the you look it up, and it is the distance of this to this, the width of your thumbnail. It's not palms, hands, that's not very precise in terms of what you would fold, so you would need something that's always an inch by nature. It is
bias distribution and media ownership data. So you
the larval phase of a dragonfly nymph, always an inch. Always an inch, no matter which one you dig up under the rock.
Bias. So if you're looking for a better way to stay informed about current events around the world, check out Ground News by visiting
It'd be much less bias
ground.news/HOTU. Thanks to Ground News for supporting education on YouTube.
You could say, if cesium had the most stable, you could say something to the idea, if a crystal could grow, and therefore my thumb would be about that. You could say the time it took to form that crystal in a triangulation get you somewhere.
Whispering in hushed tones while they wait for their illustrious leader to